guys, Mrs. Harris here. Today is Friday, April 3rd, 2020. In biology, we're going to continue going over the alkali fly. Remember, that was the fly that had the air sac around it and was able to fully submerge itself underwater to eat the algae and lay eggs. So yesterday you guys had a couple questions that you guys needed to complete. We're just going to go over those briefly before I read another article regarding the alkali fly. So the first question is, what does hydrophobic mean? So hydro normally means water. So hydrophobic means something that repels water. It is able to not take in water, kind of just like the alkali fly that's able to submerge itself underwater. Number 2 was, how many stages of life does the alkali fly spend in water? And out of the 3 life stages that it has, it spends 2 of those in the water, which is the larva and the pupa are the 2 life stages that they spend in water. Number 3 was, what was the alkali's predator? And pretty much what would eat the alkali. And the majority of birds eat the alkali. And the Phalarope, which was the bird that kind of resembled the duck, that it swam in circles to help the alkali come to the top so they were able to eat it. And then the last questions you guys had to do was, what food did the Kutsadika people use the pupal stage of the alkali for? So what did they use that stage for? Since they are rich in fat and protein, they were an excellent source for food, and they were usually dried and used for stews back then. So that was all the questions that you guys had to do yesterday. Today we are going to just read an article from the National Geographic, so you guys will be able to just learn a little bit more about them. So we're used to seeing flies all the time, probably throwing up on your plate of food or hovering around a garbage can. But how often do we see flies do something inspiring, like breathe underwater? Mono Lake, and where was Mono Lake at again? Yep, California, is home to the bizarre and hairy alkali fly. Researchers have found that these diving flies are able to withstand the lake's high alkaline waters, crawling into it and laying their eggs and feeding. The hair on the body of the creature helps to create a bubble of air around them, which acts as an external lung. So it's almost just like a third lung for them. It gives them the air pocket. The research was conducted by FLORIS, a National Geographic Society committee for exploration and research candidate at the University of Washington. The National Geographic Society funded FLORIS to study the flies that inhabit Mono Lake in California. It's the same species of flies, he says, that Mark Twain wrote about years ago in his book called Roughing It, because they're really just that entertaining to watch. So the book from Mark Twain called Roughing It, what he quoted about the alkali flies was, "You can hold them underwater as long as you please. They do not mind it. They are only proud of it. When you let them go, they pop up to the surface as dry as a patent office report, and walk off as unconcerned as if they had been educated especially with a view to affording instructive entertainment to man in that particular way." So that was just something that Mark Twain had wrote about the alkali fly. The sheer number of flies that inhabit the lake shore is impressive. They are so densely packed that within an area about the size of a postcard, there could be over 2,000 flies, says Flores. Estimates that in the height of the summer, that could mean around 1 million alkali flies buzzing around the lake. Could you imagine that? 1 million. Things really start to get interesting, though, when you take a closer look at them. You can start to see them actually crawling underwater in little air bubbles, he says. Solving a mystery. Flores and his team set out with the goal of understanding exactly how the alkali flies of Mono Lake are able to crawl into the water, which is 3 times saltier and much more alkaline than the ocean, without getting wet. The only known creatures that inhabit it year-round are photosynthetic algae and a species of tiny shrimp. The study was published November 20th, 2015. So that's kind of just a little overview again about alkali flies.